Earlier said, Egypt has taken stable and successful steps to maintain an economic course that would cope with the pandemic that is overwhelming the whole world, and especially the precautionary measures, especially the tight measurements and harsh laws and preventive measures to be able to maintain successful economic reform or the course of its economic reform. And with us over the phone is Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, the economic expert. Good morning, Mr. Abou El Fotouh.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you very much indeed.
We would like first to talk about the robust program of economic reforms and restored macroeconomic stability. How can we maintain that program?
Well, Egypt has successfully taken several measures which achieved macro stabilization gains along with the emergency response measures which are expected to contain the negative impact of the overall macroeconomic environment and the repercussions of the COVID-19. Despite the economy contracted by 1.7% during the period from April to June, because of the COVID-19, the news is that the average real growth is still maintained at 3.6%. The primary budget balance is expected to remain in surplus, and as such, the international rating agencies have maintained Egypt's credit outlook as stable despite the COVID-19 crisis.
Right. As we all know, that this pandemic has overwhelmed the whole world and have stopped transportation and have stopped shipment and have stopped even people are locked. There is a complete lockdown in some countries right now. So how is that going to affect the course of economy when it comes to different procedures?
Egypt is part of the world, and any slowdown in the business, any partial or full shutdown of the business would impact Egypt and the Egyptian economy would also suffer from that. But Egypt, as I told you previously at the outset of the pandemic, has taken several measures and the government was proactive in doing its exercise, its homework. For example, the government allocated an emergency COVID-19 response package worth £100 billion. Also, the Central Bank of Egypt took several measures to ease the monetary policy, and the government also introduced credit and tax forbearance measures to relieve immediate financial pressures on the average individuals and businesses, including small and medium enterprises. The government has taken several various initiatives, even to help the poor and needy by increasing the funds for the Takaful and Karama programs and dispersing exceptional cash payments for irregular workers.
Right. In the process of economic reform program, what exactly are the pillars that help the private sector to contribute in achieving a targeted growth rate and create or provide new job opportunities for the citizens?
Well, going forward, for the private sector to expand and to create sufficient employment opportunities, the government actually is planning to take a three-pronged approach, which relies on three pillars, as rightfully said. Probably the first pillar for the government is to sustaining the macroeconomic stability and stability of the overall policies, and strengthening the fiscal and debt arrangement. This will be important for improving the outcomes of the government programs, and reducing the fiscal risk. Possibly the second pillar would be getting and enabling the business environment right in order to create attractive opportunities for the domestic and foreign investment to enhance productivity growth in every business sector. And I would also see that the last important thing or the last pillar should be improving the capabilities of human capital and private sector capabilities through investing more in education, investing more in vocational and on-the-job training, as well as we need to adopt, the government needs to adopt quality standards in production and service delivery.
Also, Mr. Abou El Fotouh, the government has taken precautionary measures, as we all know, to combat the crisis and to control the spread of this pandemic and to lessen the negative social and economic impacts. How do you view the measures, especially that we have succeeded in maintaining and curbing the number of infections compared to other countries who have been prevailing worldwide in the number of infections, like the United States and Europe, France and Spain and other European countries? How do you view these measures and the extent of that particular success in that front, crossing the crisis?
Let me first give a very quick background on the negative repercussions on the economy, and will take you through the measures that Egypt has taken successfully. As we all know, at the start of the crisis, the foreign reserves started to deplete quickly due to the large-scale portfolio outflows and the negative impacts on tourism receipts, which dropped sharply due to the temporary shutdown of restaurants and the restrictions on international travel, both in Egypt and abroad. In the same way, the export sector was negatively impacted and the Suez Canal revenues declined as a result of the decline of the global demand and slowdown of international trade. So in order for the government to relieve the economy from the repercussions, the negative repercussions, relieve the immediate balance of payment pressure, there were several measures taken by the government, including issuance of $5 billion sovereign euro bonds, and the government also obtained $2.8 billion from International Monetary Fund under the Rapid Financial Instrument, followed by $5.2 billion under the standby arrangements. The government also was successful in arranging a loan for $2 billion from Emirates Commercial Bank Consortium and issued green bonds for the first ever time in the MENA region. These bonds were issued worth $750 million, and consequently the foreign reserves now, as you can, if we are following the news, of the foreign reserves now have remained fairly sufficient at $39 billion at the end of October, covering around 7 months merchandise imports.
Also, building on the issue of COVID-19 that is prevailing the whole world, that particular pandemic did not at all stop Egypt in continuing its course of establishing its mega project and continuing on it. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is every week inaugurating an infrastructural project or a mega project here, or a housing project, or an industrial project. So if you like to elaborate over that particular thing, because it really distinguishes Egypt among other countries.
As rightfully said, whilst we see most countries around us are slowing down the business or even shutting the business completely, we here in Egypt, we are going according to the planned schedule or inaugurating most of the mega projects. And as you said, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, we see the president every week inspecting and touring the country to inaugurate or check the progress of the implementation of the mega projects. In fact, this is actually amazing because even big countries are putting big projects on hold. We here in Egypt are still progressing and achieving positive economic growth despite all hardships and difficulties and repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, your economic expert, would like to thank you so much talking to The Breakfast Show. And you have a beautiful day, sir. Thank you so much. And I guess with this, we come to the end of The Breakfast Show for this morning. Many thanks to all of you. And until we see you once again tomorrow morning with a new crew, that's a goodbye. Have a beautiful day.